So topic given was greatest threat to nature is the belief that someone else will save it. Very clearly it is visible that it is an environment theme essay. So how do we deal with an environment essay? What are its pillars? What do we write? First and foremost, in any environment essay, it is very important that there is a very good introduction. Introduction can be a quote. Introduction can be a good story. Introduction can even be a poem. Today, because Rishika was complaining that she is not from literature optional, so she does not have that many poems. So Rishika, that concern also I have noted, and I will be helping you in that. In fact, helping everybody. I'll be bringing certain poems which bring about the connection between nature and in human beings, or the importance of nature, importance of beauty, the disconnect between human beings and nature. So a poem is a very good
Yes, sir.
introduction. It can be a very good conclusion also. Okay. Then dimensions. Today we will be seeing how to develop dimensions in an environment essay. How do we develop dimensions? Is environment essays dimension simply environment, or whether we will write it from polity perspective, from IR perspective, from perspective of ethics? Definitely we will be seeing all that, because there is a very important role of international organizations and their in mandate in environment. So what is the role of society, how geography determines environment, all those we will be studying. Disaster also is an important component in environment. So a lot of material that you have done in your GS disaster is applicable here. And then environment ka conclusion. Once again, try that environment essay conclusions are philosophical, or you end with part of the poem that you started with. So first and foremost, let us see some of the introductions for essays that I have collected for you. Is this visible to everybody?
Yes, sir.
So some you are already knowing. There is sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not for man's greed. Very good quote by Gandhiji, where you can talk about one of the problems in environment, that is over exploitation. Nature provides a free lunch, but only if we control our appetite. We never know the worth of water till the well is dry. Now, so any of them you can choose. Rachel Carson had written a book, Silent Spring. She basically talks about the impact of human beings on nature. So she wrote about a city that in her city, the sparrows or the birds had disappeared because of the chemical and insecticide factory. She used to remember that in her childhood, there lots of birds used to chirp, but now they had become silent. So it is a very famous book in environment, Silent Spring. You should mention always in GS as well as in your essay. So she says, man is a part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself. So Rachel Carlson, you can quote definitely, if not in your introduction, in some body part of your essay. Okay. We have forgotten to be good guests, how to walk lightly on the earth as its other creatures do. So this is also again a good quote by Barbara what we are doing to forests of the world is but a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and one another. That is again a quote you can use at various places. Even in essays on IR and war, you can mention this. Okay. What is the use of a fine house if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? Henry David Thoreau's quote. On nature conservation, this is a good quote that you can write. Never doubt a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens that can change the world. It is indeed the only thing that has ever been. So if you are quoting some NGO, for example, Chipko movement in India, considered to be one of the landmark movements for environment rights in India, began with certain ordinary people going and hugging the trees. Amrita Shergill, certain individuals who started environment movement or activism in India. Okay. You cannot go through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. That is basically the human being's footprint on nature. Basically what you called as Earth Day. Okay. Now, there are some very good poems which you can use for both introduction and conclusion. There Will Come Soft Rains by Sarah Telesdale. इस poem में like you can remember some of the lines. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. यहाँ से याद कर सकते हैं. No, not one would mind neither bird nor the tree if mankind perished utterly. That means nature will still survive if mankind does not. This you can mention even on an essay on war, IR, security issues. This poem, you can use it there also. Not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done, not one would mind neither the bird nor the tree if mankind perished utterly. इसके बाद की भी दो लाइनें अगर आप याद कर सके तो अच्छा है. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. Okay, so this line is good. You can remember it. It is of multi-purpose use also. It can be used in various essays. Essays on IR, essays on security, essays on conflict. Okay. Now, trees. This personally is a very small poem, but this one poem I personally like because of its silliness in rhyming, but very profoundness in its meaning. So you can just remember the first line and the last line. I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Though it may sound childish, but very profound meaning. Human beings, through whatever technology, we cannot make a blade of grass. Here I will also be telling you one story by a spiritual guru in India, Sadhguru. So he says that man, he is so proud of his inventions, his discoveries, that once he goes to God, man and God's conversation, he says, we don't need you. Man is saying, we don't need you. You have made us, I can make babies, test tube, IVF. I can create, you make rainfall, I can create artificial rain. You have made the lands, the mountains, the seas, etc. I can grow various crops, foods, everything that I want. Then God simply asks, or God simply says, get your own soil, son. First, get your own soil, son. Whatever we may do, can we bring this? For all our sophistication, scientific inventions, discoveries, God says, get your own soil, son. That story, that video link I will be sending you in the group also. He has worded it more better than I have. Just copy that story and don't quote him. Maybe not write a spiritual guru who is involved in. There was an environment activism that they have started. है ना? Does anybody remember? With respect to saving the soil movement, what was it called? I think Save Soil Only or something like that, right?
Yes.
Isha Foundation had started a movement with respect to saving the soil. What was it called? Yes, Dipesh. So instead of quoting a person, you can quote the foundation or the organization, Isha Foundation, and you can quote the movement that save the soil or something, some movement they had started for conservation of soil in India. Now, this is a very famous poem, I Wander Lonely as a Cloud, famously called Daffodils by William Wordsworth. This is basically for reflection. In conclusion, you can write that we have to reflect upon our actions. We have to reflect what we are doing to our Mother Earth, our planet Earth, the only planet that we have. He says, for often or oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. इसके पहले का poem मैंने नहीं लिखा है. When he actually sees the daffodils, later he recollects them and it fills him with happiness, the recollection. So here you can, this is very good conclusion that mankind has to reflect. ऐसा आप conclusion लिखेंगे that we have to reflect upon our actions, what we have done, and take words from the inspiration of the great poet William Wordsworth. For often when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart fills with pleasure and dances with the daffodils. Okay, so I hope एक और खलील गिब्रान की किताब का कोट भी लिखा हुआ है, and even Rabindranath Tagore, both you can use, both are of use at multiple places. Okay, Khalil Gibran says this is what the this you can use in ethics also, this you can use in essay also. It is well to give when asked, it is better to give unasked. Too often others I say, we often say I would give, but only to the deserving. The trees in your orchard, the flock in your pasture do not say, they give, and through you they live, for to hold is to perish. Basically, this is more of an ethics conclusion. If the essay is about ethics, it is about being human beings, journey from human being to being human, those kind of things. Okay, there you can use that. Trees, they never question whether you deserve it or not. They never question whether you should be given that or not, or whether what you are giving in return, because they give and through you they live, for to withhold is to perish. And Tagore says, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I woke and saw that life was service. I acted and service is joy. So any of them, you can use it for your introductions. For an environment essay, I would always prefer that you use maybe a very good quote on environment conservation, or you use the poems that we have seen. Any doubt in this? Other than कि ये मटेरियल हमको दे दीजिएगा, ये आप ही का मटेरियल है, आप ही को मिलेगा, डोंट वरी.
No, sir.
No, sir.
So now, having decided the introduction, let us come to the dimension or the body of the environment essay. So what can be the dimensions of environment essay? Yes. Since it is based on environment, you have to heavily rely from environment in your syllabus, right? One part is environment syllabus. We will be referring to polity. We will be referring to international relations. We will be referring to history, evidences in the history regarding environment conservation, environment degradation. We will be referring to society. We will be referring to ethics. So first and foremost, this will be the bulk part of our essay. The bulk material will come because ये theme ही environment का है. तो इसमें आप environment से related थोड़ी बातें लिख के आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते हो. Okay. So first and foremost, definition. You should know certain definitions. What is environment or what is ecosystem? Environment. What is holism? इस तरह की बातें आप जरूर लिखेंगे क्योंकि ये इन्वायरमेंट से रिलेटेड है, वो उस पर्टिकुलर थीम का है, तो उस पर्टिकुलर थीम से रिलेटेड कुछ स्पेसिफिक बातें आपको लिखनी है. सो व्हाट इज इकोसिस्टम? या इन्वायरमेंट वर्ड का मतलब क्या है? सो इन्वायरमेंट मीन्स द फिजिकल सराउंडिंग अराउंड अस. यस और नो? It is the physical surrounding in which the organism lives. It is a sum total of biotic and abiotic factors. अब अगर हम इसमें interactions जोड़ दें तो environment plus interaction will become what?
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem. So the physical surrounding of the biotic and abiotic factors and the interaction between them is the ecosystem. That means in essay you will highlight that by definition itself there is interaction between the components of the environment, whether it be soil, whether it be air, whether it be plant, whether it be another animal. Now I'm not going into the specifics, but you have positive interactions, you have negative interactions, you have something called mutualism, and you have something called competition, predation, etc. ये सब आप environment में पढ़ते हैं. So basic idea, ecosystem और environment ये हमको पता होना चाहिए. Environment is the physical surrounding, and when there is an interaction between the biotic and abiotic components of the environment, it becomes an ecosystem. Holism, what is holism?
So the tendency to form the whole in the nature is always greater than its parts.
Parts. Holism basically means the whole is always greater than the parts. That means, can human beings claim to be having full information or full control over nature? No, we are merely a part. We can never claim to represent the whole. And what are the various stages? Individual. Group of individuals is called
Population.
population. Population of various species is called
Community.
community. Community as well as the as well as the abiotic and biotic components over a larger scale is called
Ecosystem.
ecosystem. And when we divide this ecosystem on a continental stage, that is called
Biomass.
biome, not biomass. And this biome is part of the habitable part of earth called
Biosphere.
biosphere. So this kind of diagram also you can draw between from individual stage to the biosphere stage. That is holism as a concept. तो ये हो गया बेसिक इन्वायरमेंट का। जैसे जैसे इसका रेलिवेंस क्या है मैं एक एग्जांपल से समझाता हूँ। इन वन ऑफ माय अटेम्प्ट्स इन एसए आई गॉट 108. दिस वाज माय लोएस्ट मार्क्स. From 157 I had come to 108 marks. In this attempt there was an essay that I had written on NAM 2.0. Now I had written a very beautiful essay, but I did not know the core principles or core background of NAM. I knew the Panchsheel principles, etc., those kind of things. But NAM कैसे बना, which were the first few countries that came, वो जो factual part था, that I had not written in the essay. I purely dealt with the speculative or the applied part of NAM, how NAM is worthy today. I even wrote about strategic autonomy, NAM 2.0, etc., all those things. I wrote the Cold War context in which it came. I wrote even that why NAM came. But that Bandung conference में कौन से देश आए, कैसे जुड़े, ये सब बातें मुझे याद नहीं थी वहां पे. So I should not have chosen. प्लस NAM के सारे पांचों प्रिंसिपल्स और वो सारी चीजें, वो जो कोर ऑफ NAM है, which is from your political science or IR part, factual, that I did not know during that essay. So because of that, like it got marked negatively. You cannot be writing a purely speculative essay or a purely applied essay if it is thematic. This was a thematic essay on a particular theme. I corrected this. I went to 147, 142. So idea is that simple mistakes can cost you in essay. Although one more mistake I had made with respect to the second essay was women in that paper. So partly marks had been deducted because of that also, which I will discuss, or I have discussed when we were discussing the mistakes we can make in essay. So having discussed the first theme, that is the definition or core of environment. Second, types and role. For example, what are the functions of environment? अब यहां पर हम functions of environment अपने आप भी लिख सकते हैं, लेकिन we will be writing using keywords from environment. Nutrient recycling, you have studied nutrient recycling chapter. Primary productivity or net primary productivity. Aesthetic value, देख के आपको सुंदर लगता है. Economic value, what is the economic value of nature? What is the economic value? You get medicines, you get timber, other forest produce,
minerals and resources.
You get various minerals. They act as natural aquifers. They are important water sources. They are important wildlife sources. Economic value में आप वही कोट लिख देंगे. Poems on trees are written by fools like me. Only God can make a tree. The entire Amazon, its value in money cannot be replicated. Then protective function, how nature protects you. In economic value you can write fisheries and all those things also. सारी चीजें जो आप इकोनॉमी में पढ़ते हैं. Here I am just giving you a hint. The rest of it you will write from your environment GS pre and mains. What are the protective functions of environment?
So forest act as a carbon sink.
Okay, carbon sink, carbon sequestration. अरे डिजास्टर में ही तो पढ़ा है आपने. नेचुरल लाइन ऑफ
Defense.
Defense against tsunami, cyclone, etc. What else? Which is the biggest waste processing plant on planet Earth? The oceans. So functions of the environment, here you can also mention certain environment biomes or habitats of great significance like corals. ये mention इसलिए करा रहा हूँ because otherwise we tend to forget. Wetlands. In particular, one important wetland, mangroves. और इनके बारे में कुछ लिखिए, corals, why they are important, what are corals, etc. and what is their importance. Okay. Third, threats to biodiversity. Here you will discuss what is biodiversity. You will discuss biodiversity in India and the world. Then threats में the evil quadrate which NCERT says. What are the evil quadrates according to NCERT? Over exploitation. What else?
Species invasion, alien species.
Yes, invasive species, correct. What else? Co-extinction and NCERT आप लोगों ने नहीं पढ़ी environment के लिए? Class 12th bio NCERT.
Fragmentation.
Habitat loss and fragmentation, yes. इन सभी एस्पेक्ट्स पे आप एक एक पैराग्राफ लिख सकते हो. ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन एंड हाउ ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन इज लीडिंग टू pollution ऑफ लैंड, वाटर, एयर. अगर आपने ओवर एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ही ले लिया, so here you can mention how it can lead to water pollution. In water pollution, you can mention river and underground water or groundwater pollution. In air pollution, you can mention smog. You can mention indoor air pollution. In over exploitation, you can mention land degradation and desertification. Specifically, you can mention 3 specific problems. What are the 3 specific problems? Global warming and climate change. Ozone layer depletion. And acid rain and ocean acidification. इनके बारे में स्पेसिफिक लिख सकते हैं, क्योंकि इनको लिखने के बाद में आप इनके रेमेडी स्टेप्स लिख सकते हैं. ऑल ऑफ देम हैव इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशंस. फॉर एग्जांपल, व्हाट इज द कन्वेंशन फॉर ओजोन लेयर डिप्लीशन?
Vienna Convention.
Vienna Convention on ozone depleting substances. One very important protocol is Montreal. Okay, so on each of these, you can mention and write paragraphs linked to your syllabus. Okay, air pollution, soil pollution, e-waste pollution, plastic pollution. They are all some things that you can write. Now, once you have written the threats, obviously you will be writing about the solution or sustainable development. What will be the solutions? Environment impact assessment. You will write about various treaties, organizations. Just to name a few treaties, organizations, conventions. Just tell me, jaldi jaldi. For example, Vienna Convention or Montreal Protocol on ozone. और बताइए, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and its recent protocol, Paris Deal. What else?
Stockholm Convention.
Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants. ठीक है, मेजर लिखिए, ऐसे में इतना कुछ लिखने को नहीं मिल पाएगा, इतने डिटेल वाले। मेजर बताइए।
UNCCD, United Nations.
हाँ, United Nations Framework Convention on to combat desertification. ठीक है, what else?
Sir, UNEP.
UNEP ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आ जाएगा। ठीक है, UNEP फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जब आप लिखें तो डेफिनेटली मेंशन सर्टेन NGOs, फॉर एग्जांपल वर्ल्ड वाइल्ड लाइफ फंड, देन इंटरनेशनल यूनियन फॉर कंजर्वेशन ऑफ नेचर, बॉम्बे हिस्टोरिकल सोसाइटी। Okay, so in organizations you can also write several other organizations. और कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या ट्रीटी बताइए फॉर
रामसर,
एनिमल्स। हाँ रामसर, ठीक है। रामसर साइट्स कन्वेंशन ऑन ट्रेड इन इंडेंजर्ड स्पीशीज, देन बॉर्न कन्वेंशन और बायोडाइवर्सिटी कन्वेंशन, कन्वेंशन ऑन माइग्रेटरी स्पीशीज। ये सारी चीजें जो आपने पढ़ी उसमें से जो इंपॉर्टेंट है, रामसर इंपॉर्टेंट है, साइट्स है, कन्वेंशन ऑन माइग्रेटरी स्पीशीज, बायोडाइवर्सिटी कन्वेंशन और CBD कन्वेंशन ऑन बायोडाइवर्सिटी, ऑल्सो कॉल्ड बॉर्न। सो ये इंपॉर्टेंट वाले डेफिनेटली लिखिए, ट्रीटीज, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस। देन लेजिस्लेशंस, especially legislative framework in India. So there is Wildlife Protection Act 1972. There is Forest Conservation Act 1980. There is Rights of Forest Dwellers and Indigenous Population or Forest Rights Act. Which year? 2006. National Green Tribunal 2009-10. और भी कई सारे हैं, इन्वायरमेंट वाटर पोल्यूशन, एयर पोल्यूशन वगैरह, बट डेफिनेटली मेंशन दीज 5. इन्वायरमेंट प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1986. So legislations are again very important component of your solutions. Then in the solutions definitely mention about programs, initiatives. What are the programs, initiatives? So there are wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, biosphere reserves, और इनमें से कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोग्राम्स लिख दीजिए, प्रोजेक्ट टाइगर। और बताइए।
PM प्रणाम स्कीम।
हाँ, स्कीम्स में ठीक है, PM प्रणाम, वन धन, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा। व्हाट एल्स?
प्रोजेक्ट एलिफेंट,
प्रोजेक्ट वल्चर ब्रीडिंग प्रोग्राम, प्रोजेक्ट क्रोकोडाइल एक्सेट्रा। थोड़ा सा वेरिएबिलिटी लेके आइए। ऑल्सो मेंशन इंटरनेशनल इनिशिएटिव्स।
Yes, sir.
हाँ, TX2 फॉर टाइगर कंजर्वेशन।
So big cat alliances.
बिग कैट अलायंस एक कोई मतलब TX2 हो गया तो फिर हम बिग कैट नहीं लिखेंगे, बट अगर कोई एक लिख सकते हैं उसके से रिलेटेड, ठीक है।
बायोफ्यूल अलायंस,
हाँ, बायोफ्यूल अलायंस करेक्ट। नेशनल सोलर अलायंस, नॉट नेशनल, सॉरी, इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस।
recent COP29,
Recent COP29, you can write, you can mention the TRIOCA, obviously, Sustainable Development Goals, Paris Deal. In Paris Deal, you can mention the recent and Sendai, Disaster Risk Resilience Framework. Okay, so you can also mention various wildlife conservation efforts in India. कई सारे वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन एफर्ट्स हैं इंडिया में. गिव मी सम एग्जांपल.
reintroduction of cheetahs,
Reintroduction of cheetahs. Okay, we have got cheetahs from which country?
Namibia,
Namibia. Though many of them have died, but Namibia कहता और ले लीजिए. We are ready to give you. That is the kind of goodwill India has and the goodwill on India's environment credentials. और बताइए. Yes. ठीक है. I think from environment this much is enough. I hope all of you have now a basic idea that environment essay में environment से कितना लिखेंगे. Is that clear to everybody? Then we will come to rest of these dimensions. Environment basic definition, types of environment, functions of environment, threats to biodiversity, and solutions. That much part will be from environment syllabus. Is that clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, how does polity help for environment? So polity का कहीं पर भी आपको एप्लीकेशन देखना है तो स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द आर्टिकल्स पर्सपेक्टिव. अब पार्ट 1 जो है आर्टिकल 1 to 4 इतना हेल्प नहीं मिलेगा. सिटीजनशिप में कोई हेल्प नहीं मिलेगा. फंडामेंटल राइट्स, यस डेफिनेटली इट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प. आर्टिकल 21, राइट टू क्लीन इन्वायरमेंट इज अ फंडामेंटल राइट, है ना. यू कैन ऑल्सो मेंशन MC मेहता केस. यू कैन ऑल्सो मेंशन Delhi CNG case. Supreme Court said citizens have the right to clean environment. और कोई आर्टिकल इन फंडामेंटल राइट्स? आई डोंट थिंक सो. कम टू DPSP. DPSP, definitely there is an article specially brought by a amendment, Article 48 A, protection and conservation of environment as well as creatures. Come to fundamental duties. We should protect, conserve the forest, lakes, and show compassion to living creatures. Yes. अब इसके बाद तो एग्जीक्यूटिव आ जाएगा, वहां पर कुछ खास नहीं मिलेगा. जुडिशरी आ जाएगा, उसके बाद कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. स्टेट आ जाएगा, उसके बाद कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. सो वेयर कैन वी देन फाइंड इन्वायरमेंट इन पॉलिटी?
So national green tribunals.
नेशनल ग्रीन ट्रिब्यूनल, हाँ डेफिनेटली यू कैन मेंशन स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडीज विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पॉलिटी. ट्राइब्यूनल इज सेट अप अंडर आर्टिकल 323 A and 323 B. So tribunals are there. Local bodies also have a role to play in environment conservation. Okay, so that is one aspect. How does the constitution contribute to environment? Other aspects, you can definitely mention statutory bodies, NGT, CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. Okay, there are several other bodies with respect to environment conservation and environment framework in India. Like for example, there is Animal Welfare Board of India. There is Wildlife Institute of India. There is wildlife one. What is the name of that body with respect to wildlife crime? Wildlife Crime Bureau, something Wildlife Crime Bureau, which collects intelligence regarding trafficking of animals and crimes against animals, etc. Okay. Then National Animal Welfare Board. So any of them, 2, 3 bodies, 4 bodies you can mention with respect to statutory bodies in environment. Then any other thing in polity with respect to environment?
So non-statutory body, NDMA.
Non-statutory body you can mention definitely. Environment legislations. There are certain legislations with respect to environment, though that we have already discussed even in environment syllabus part. But there are certain legislative frameworks for environment, especially conforming to international standards also. Okay. Now this is what polity will be contributing to. Now in international relations, definitely we will be talking about historical responsibilities. There is a very good quote with respect to historical responsibilities. In an underdeveloped country, you will have poor water. In a developed country, you will have poor air. That is one quote. One quote is given by President Putin. He says any country whose per capita income crosses 5,000 becomes concerned with environment. So basically here we will be talking about the responsibility of developed countries. And here especially responsibility through transfer of technology, especially clean technology, and transfer of funds for mitigation and adaptation, which they have themselves pledged. इन्होंने खुद adaptation की spelling सही कर लीजिएगा, which they have themselves pledged in Paris deal. Every year they will be contributing $100 billion. Developed countries will be giving to developing countries. They have not even crossed $1 billion. This is $100 billion per year. और अभी तक $1 billion भी क्रॉस नहीं हुआ है. Okay, so you can definitely talk about World Bank and IMF. They have stopped funding thermal power plants or such projects. You can talk about net zero goals. You can talk about INDC goals. Okay. In from IR perspective. Now, disaster. So basically you will be discussing climate change in detail, purely a human induced disaster. Extreme weather events, drought, floods, etc. happening because of climate change or human induced action and global warming. Then with respect to ethics, we will be talking about role of corporate governance. इसमें भी environment conservation का इनका role, especially CSR funds etc. Corporate governance जो topic. Then ethics of international funding. some international environment NGOs, are they deep state agents? For example, Greenpeace, etc. Greenpeace, Amnesty, are they doing environment work or propaganda work? Yes. IB की रिपोर्ट है, इन्होंने जानबूझ के कुंडाकुलम में प्रोटेस्ट कराया था, दैट वाज पेड प्रोटेस्ट। ग्रीन पीस, जैसे ही हमारा FCRA अमेंड हुआ, ग्रीन पीस ने अपना इंडिया में दुकान बंद कर ली, in which FCRA said that not more than 20% of your funds you can use for administrative expenses. तो इन्होंने बहुत बड़ा नेटवर्क अपना एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपेंस का बना रखा था, गिविंग मनी टू द लाइक्स ऑफ रोमिलाज एंड बरखाज ऑफ इंडिया फॉर राइटिंग अबाउट एंटी स्टेट। सरकार ने बोला 20% ही आपका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव एक्सपेंस होगा, रेस्ट ऑफ द वर्क यू हैव टू डू ऑन द ग्राउंड, जिसके लिए आपने पैसा लिया है। आपको अपना सोर्स बताना पड़ेगा, यू विल हैव टू ओपन अ बैंक अकाउंट इन न्यू दिल्ली इन SBI। इन्होंने बोला भाई अब तो पकड़े जाएंगे, फोर्ड फाउंडेशन का पैसा वापस पहुंचा देते हैं वहां पे। दे लेफ्ट। सो एथिक्स ऑफ इंटरनेशनल फंडिंग, मेनी टाइम्स एनवायरनमेंट इज यूज्ड like as a disguise for destabilizing governments. Okay, so I think society and history is one dimension also from which you can write. History में बताइए environment practices के अच्छे example.
So एक तो like चिपको movement.
ठीक है, चिपको हो गया। What else?
So nature worship.
Okay, sacred
Animism.
groups. Those are called sacred groups where plants are not cut. In society, Bishnoi community, they treat black buck as
Sacred animal.
yes, as part of their family member.
So rule of tribes, Jan Jungle Zameen.
Okay, tribal movements, tribes, they're living in harmony with nature, correct? हिस्ट्री में और एग्जांपल बताइए नेचर इन्वायरमेंट कंजर्वेशन से रिलेटेड।
नर्मदा बचाओ हुआ था।
नर्मदा बचाओ आंदोलन।
नर्मदा बचाओ मत लिखना यार, नर्मदा बचाओ को कोई नहीं बचा पाया। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑल्सो स्ट्रक देयर पिटिशन, दे सेड कि नर्मदा का पानी जो है वो उठने नहीं देंगे। गवर्नमेंट वांटेड टू इंक्रीज so that waters could be brought to the drylands of Saurashtra and Vidarbha. They lost in Supreme Court. Again, propaganda organization.
So some earlier civilizations near water bodies.
Near water bodies, okay.
So in the Neolithic time, agriculture revolution around 10,000 BC.
तो environment में कैसे हो गए?
So agriculture.
Agriculture. अरे कुछ राजा महाराजा का बताइए हिस्ट्री में से जिन्होंने इन्वायरमेंट के लिए कुछ किया है।
Yes sir अशोकास के धम्मास में रॉक
हाँ,
एडिट्स
no.
में था कि प्लांटेशन मतलब किया था along the roadsides.
Okay, one of the Dhamma principles is respect for nature. ठीक है, what else?
So Firoz Shah Tughlaq, construction of irrigation, construction of
इरिगेशन ठीक है, अगर फिरोज शाह मत लिखिए फिर, मतलब वो तो प्योरली इकोनॉमिक प्रिंसिपल्स के लिए था। देयर इज आल्सो एग्जांपल्स फ्रॉम एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री आल्सो। स्पेशली सतवाहनास में देयर इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग। सतवाहनास वर फेमस फॉर टेकिंग द नेम्स ऑफ देयर मदर। गौतमी पुत्र सतकर्णी, सतकर्णी था ना, गौतमी पुत्र।
Yes sir
What is the
गौतमी पुत्र सतकर्णी।
So he is known for reviving the ancient dams, river waters, etc. So that you can
Yes,
mention.
sir. Yes, sir. Rudra Daman,
Rudra Daman is also
irrigation canal.
करेक्ट करेक्ट. तो ठीक है, सोसाइटी में से सोसाइटी के एग्जांपल्स.
So festivals and fairs related to
Yes,
environment.
very good. Festivals and fairs related to nature conservation. You can mention Chhat Puja also.
Yes, sir.
So there are various traditional festivals, various tribal festivals, various folk songs with respect to nature conservation. Various paintings depicting nature. So all that you can mention, and society and history aspect. तो इतना बहुत है. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pillars other than your environment pillar. This is good enough. Okay. And then conclusion में you can refer to the poems by William Wordsworth. And conclude your essay. Let us just refer to the poem once again, and then we will conclude the class also. For often when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Basically, reflection on nature conservation, etc. That you can write. Okay. So this completes our environment theme discussion. Now I request all of you जिन्होंने भी अभी भेजा है, I request that you write it again based on our discussion. अब आप पूरा लिख के एक बार भेजिए. ठीक है. I am sure many of you might not have written most of the points. If some of you think कि नहीं हमने ये point लिखा है, तो you can definitely tell me and I will check that essay. Unless and until you tell me, I will not be checking the essays that right now you have sent. Based on our discussion, now write a full essay in those many words only with a proper introduction and conclusion. Okay. And then send it to me. In next class, we will be discussing the next theme on essay, that is philosophical essays. Okay. Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So that is all for today. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, sir.